Welcome back to KCEN Kickoff here on 6 Plus. I'm your host, Ethan Love, and we're going to kick off your weekend of sports a little bit early. We got a lot for the show today. We're going to start with baseball, though. The ALDS and the NLDS are in full swing. Today is a full slate of games. We got the Tigers, Mariners, we got the Blue Jays, Yankees, Dodgers, Phillies, and Brewers, Cubs. Some of these series have been a little bit lopsided, and at the time of this recording, nobody has clinched as of yet, but that could change. The Mariners-Detroit game just started, and that's going to be an interesting one. Mariners did take the lead. They almost blew it in the ninth inning, though. The Tigers managed to muster up a bit of a rally and forced Andres Munoz to come into the game. But the Mariners are looking good, and they might be on their way to their first ALCS in a long time. And then again, the Mariners are the only team in Major League Baseball that has never been to a World Series. Every other team has at least been to the World Series except the Mariners. So it's hard to root for them as a Rangers fan, but I keep finding myself wanting the Mariners to win because they are that underdog story. Over to the other series in the American League, Blue Jays Yankees has been a fun one. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has homered in every single game at the time of this recording. Absolutely ridiculous from him. The Blue Jays look really, really good, as was expected, being the AL East division winner. The Yankees did win the game last night. Aaron Judge finally had his signature postseason moment. 3-run home run off the foul pole at Yankee Stadium, down 3 runs. I mean, you can't ask for a better moment for Aaron Judge, finally beating the postseason allegations there for him. And over in the NL, the Brewers look as dominant as ever. It's really just a phenomenal job from everyone in the Brewers staff, from their scouting to their manager. It's just been an absolute masterclass this season in an absolutely loaded National League. So the Brewers are looking like they're on their way. They have a 2-0 lead at the time of this recording over the Cubs. And then Dodgers-Phillies was kind of the premier matchup heading into this one. The Dodgers, obviously, they have their very talented roster and everything of that sort. But the Phillies, this is kind of their boom or bust year. Kyle Schwarber might walk. And none of these guys have really performed yet. Kyle Schwarber, I believe, doesn't have a hit. I'll fact check that. But Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, where are these guys? They're not hitting the baseball. And that's a credit to the Dodgers pitching. Blake Snell has been outstanding in his first 2 starts. Roki Sasaki coming in the closer role. Just a few weeks ago, he was in AAA, getting beat up by AAA and AAA players and minor league talent. And his velo was down, and now he's back pumping 100. It doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it was a mental thing for Sasaki, but he seems to be taking on that closer role well. And he's had some mental struggles in the past when it comes to playing on the bigger stages, and it seems like he's crushing that fear. So that's good to see from him. But I think this is more of a story about the Phillies and how they continue to underperform in October. And it's not a good look for Philadelphia and Bryce Harper and all these stars that they're paying a bunch of money to. So we'll have to see if the Phillies can make this series competitive, but as of right now, they're down 2-0, and it is not looking good for the Phillies. So we're probably setting up for a Dodgers-Brewers NLCS, which is fun, and we're probably setting up for a Mariners-Blue Jays ALCS, which I think that's great for the American League. These teams are never in it, it seems like, towards the end. The Blue Jays have made noise, but as you know, Seattle, the last time that they won a postseason game before Sunday was in 2001, and that's when I was born. I actually did the math on that. It was just 16 days after I was born that the Seattle Mariners won their last playoff game before this postseason. So Rangers fan, they're an AL West rival, but I'm happy for the Mariners. And another team that I'm happy for is the A&M Aggies, up to number 5 now in the AP poll. So after this quick break, we're going to transition from the world of baseball, which has just been a great postseason. Again, all the numbers are up, but we're going to go ahead and transition into college football, talk about A&M, talk about Baylor. Talk about OU Texas and what the heck is going on with Arch Manning and everything of that sort. And then Penn State's big loss to UCLA. But we'll get right into all that after this quick break. Welcome back to KCEN Kickoff here on 6 Plus, where we kick off your weekend of sports. Let's get right into it. Texas A&M, number 5. They have Florida this week, and it looks like that they're probably going to keep it rolling. Florida, I know, has had struggles, but they did beat Texas. But Texas has had their own struggles, which we'll get into later on in this segment. But hey, Texas A&M, we did the package of the Almost Aggies. I think we're going to go ahead and revisit that one next week. I want to chat with Sydney on kind of now that we're in that halfway point to the season, how the Aggies are looking and how they're crushing that Almost Aggies narrative. But hey, got to give it to Mike Elko, Marcel Reed. They're doing a phenomenal job in College Station. But over in Baylor, here in Waco, and our other Division I football program, the Baylor Bears won a narrow one against Kansas State, and now they have 2 weeks to prepare for rival TCU, who has been on a roll. They just beat Colorado, but TCU has looked human. I'll keep it honest. I know I'm a horned frog myself. I'll get my biases out there. But Baylor is a similarly structured team, great quarterback play. I think this is going to be a classic TCU-Baylor rivalry. I mentioned this in the past, that whichever team looks to be better that year, even the team that's kind of fallen behind, always plays up to that talent level. Baylor almost knocked off TCU on their run to the national championship. Baylor was ranked, TCU was unranked, and had just fired Gary Patterson the year before, and TCU ended up upsetting Baylor that year. So these games are always close, and you never know what to expect from TCU Baylor. So that's going to be a great one in Fort Worth, and a great test for the Bears, who are trying to get their season back on track after a bit of a shaky start. And they lost that one to Auburn. But hey, Baylor is looking good. But staying in Texas, let's go ahead and look at the Longhorns. Arch Manning might be the biggest college bust of all time. And it's sad that you have to say that, but you see this guy everywhere. I remember watching his first start, very highly anticipated game, Ohio State, Texas. Every single commercial, it felt like, had Arch Manning in it. He was all over. You couldn't escape him. And then it gets off commercial break, and you come back to the game, and you're like, this is the guy that's in every commercial? It's like, this guy doesn't look comfortable at all. And I don't know if it's the expectations. I don't know if everyone was just placing too much hype on him early. I don't know if it's a combination of Coach Sarkisian. But this is not how you play. If you go back and watch the film from last week against Florida, it's bad. There was an out route to the end zone that was wide open, and he took too long to throw the ball, and it was almost not a touchdown. It was a walk-in touchdown that he made close. Those are the type of plays where, as a quarterback, and especially if he wants to play at the next level in the NFL, the game goes fast. The game goes super fast. And you can't sit there and look around and sit in the pocket for so long. This isn't 2A high school football that he was accustomed to when he was in Louisiana. This is the SEC, and if he makes it to the NFL, I don't know what's going to happen to Arch, but now you got to think about the question, if this year keeps going the way it is, and it sure looks to be that way, because everything up until this point, Florida has proven that they're not a top SEC team. So if Texas, who, by the way, preseason number 1, and Heisman favorite for Arch Manning, if Texas can't beat Florida, who is like a consensus lower team in the SEC, what is the rest of the SEC going to do to them? Let's just look at their schedule. Let's pull this up. Texas Longhorns schedule. Let's see what they got. Oklahoma, Texas this week. This could be an all-time embarrassment game for the University of Texas. This is your rival. This is Red River. This is everything. And Oklahoma's ranked 6th. They look great. Mateer might play. I know he wants to play, but this is going to be an all-time embarrassment. I don't see how Texas can win this game. And again, kind of like the TCU Baylor thing, the teams could rise to the occasion, but Arch Manning just looks awful. And there's no other way to slice it, is that he just looks bad. He's making a lot of bad decisions. He's holding the football. He's trying to play hero ball. Take what the defense gives you. You don't need to take a deep shot every play. But the accuracy isn't there. The decision-making isn't there. They look like a mess. And if they can't beat Florida, they're probably going to lose to Oklahoma. Kentucky looks like a better team than them right now. Vanderbilt's good. Mississippi State can't be counted out. Georgia, what is Georgia going to do to them? I mean, it's ridiculous. And then to top it all off, if this season continues as the disaster that it is for Texas, they top it off with Texas A&M at the end of the season, which is on a completely different trajectory than the Longhorns. So this could be really ugly for Texas. And then, again, I said it earlier, but that poses the question, would they even want Arch Manning back? And so that is like, oh, what's going to happen now? Where is he going to transfer? Does another SEC school even want him? I think the Big 12 would be a good place to reset for Arch. A lot of offense, things of that nature, where he can really let loose and let his talents be on full display. But there's going to be some big questions. And I think that Sark might be under some hot seat stuff, because every year it's just like, it's the Texas story. You're so hyped up, and then you fall short on expectations. And I think Longhorn fans definitely need to give Queen Ewers an apology, because, wow, this is rough right now in Austin for the Longhorns. But another team that went and had a rough go of it this weekend was Penn State. UCLA was a complete dumpster fire. Hadn't won a game, losing to G5 teams. Honestly looked like one of the worst teams in all of the Power Four conferences, or if not the worst, right there next to Oklahoma State. Sorry for the stray, Oklahoma State. But and Penn State goes in and loses after playing it close with Oregon. And I think at this point, James Franklin needs to go. His time is up. Penn State is literally going to have to win out now. They can't lose another game, and they have more big games coming up. It is not looking good for the Nittany Lions. And I said last week, we can play last week's clip of what I said, that Penn State's my national championship pick. I thought they were going to bounce back, but nobody expected this. So you guys can just go ahead and roll the clip. I think that Penn State is going to bounce back, and that's my national championship pick right now. I think Penn State's going to bounce back. I know they looked bad against Oregon. I'm shocked. They looked bad, but I think they're going to turn things around. They're going to learn from this loss. And so, yeah, that's embarrassing for me. There's a lot of things I said last week that the complete opposite has just happened, and we'll get into that in the next segment as well. I'm looking at you, 49ers, but I don't even want to talk about Penn State anymore. It's so bad. But I did mention the 49ers, and we're going to get into some NFL stuff on the other side of this break. But a lot has happened. Jerry Jones was fined some money. Joe Flacco was traded to the Bengals after Jake Browning's poor performances. Bengals trying to save their season. And we got a bunch more NFL stuff coming up for you. And we're going to have a new guest on KCEN Kickoff on the other side of this break. And you'll have to see who it is. And we'll be right back. Welcome back to KCEN Kickoff here on 6 Plus, where we kick off your weekend of sports a little bit earlier in the week. And we have a newcomer, a new fighter has appeared. We have Jacob, our digital producer. As you can tell, he is rocking the Taysom Hill jersey. He's a very big Saints fan. He's been waiting. He's been telling me every week that he wants to come on whenever the Saints win their first game, which they finally have against the Giants. We'll get into that in just a little bit, but we got to talk about the news of the week. The big one is definitely going to be Joe Flacco being traded from the Browns after getting benched for Dylan Gabriel over to division rival Bengals. And actually, a fun tidbit on this one, that is the first time that the Bengals and Browns have made a trade with each other since the Browns came back into the league in 1999. So a bit of a historical trade involving Joe Flacco, who has now played for 3 out of 4 AFC North teams, obviously with the Ravens, his second stint with the Browns, and now he's with the Bengals. And it was announced he'll be starting this weekend as well for them. And then Jerry Jones was also fined $250,000 for flipping someone off. The video is out there on social media. It's quite funny. And Jerry, he tried to play it off. Didn't you say, Jacob? He tried to play it off as he was giving someone a thumbs up.
Yeah, he said he was trying to give the Cowboys fans a thumbs up, I think, and somehow just made the wrong gesture, which I feel
if you watch the video, I think you can decipher that for yourself what happened there. But Joe Flacco to the Bengals, I think that's really going to help them in their kind of quest to turn things around since Joe Burrow's been injured. And the thing is, with that, they just need to stabilize the ship a little bit until Joe Burrow comes back. Joe Burrow, when he was here, they're 2-0. When he's not here, it's 0-3. And Jake Browning looks terrible. So now the Bengals are at 2-3, hoping Joe Flacco can win them some games. Jacob, you got any thoughts on this trade?
Like you were saying with Joe Burrow being hurt, I feel like that's just a perfect example of how integral one single player can be to a team. 'Cause like you said, it's day and night in how well they've been performing.
Yeah, and it really shows the kind of things that Joe Burrow was able to mask with his play. And that offensive line is really bad. They're notorious for being bad, especially since Joe Burrow has been there, letting him get beat up so much in the pocket. But Joe Flacco should bring some nice stability and feed these guys. Joe Flacco's a gunslinger. I mean, he has been doing this for a long time, and his arm is still there. So I know he's going to have a lot of fun throwing to Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and even checking it down to Chase Brown for fantasy purposes. Chase Brown should be a little bit more relevant now that Jake Browning is not at the helm. But I won't wait any longer, Jacob. Let's get into this Saints game. The Saints went marching in. And they have won a football game against the New York Football Giants. Can you give me your thoughts on the game? Were you watching this one?
I didn't get to watch the full game, unfortunately, but I was trying to follow along with all the highlights and the stats as much as I could. Yeah, I feel like even over the past couple of weeks, they've had glimpses of, I won't go so far as to say greatness, but glimpses of that they are a much better football team than they've been showing so far.
Yes, and I think that the Saints are a lot better than people think that they are. Spencer Rattler, I think you guys might have found like your actual franchise quarterback. I know Tyler Shuck was drafted in the second round, but Spencer Rattler's doing a phenomenal job with the cards that he's been dealt as a 5th round pick, and he seems to look better and better every week. You guys got some pieces. You're a little bit of an older team, but a new head coach and everything, you're trying to put it all together, and they've been close a couple of times against some good teams. Almost beat the 49ers, and it's these games that, they're almost winning, and that's just going to come with time and development with these younger guys. So, Jacob, I would not be ashamed of the Saints at all, because a lot of people had them as like the worst team in the league, and it's clear that they're definitely not that. I think that's more of a Jets problem.
Yeah,
but
and I agree. I feel like you said, they have good players, and with a relatively new coach, I feel like we just need to get like some real solid leadership on the team to really wrap everything up together. And that's what I feel like we've been missing the last several seasons. It's just that real linchpin of a leader on the team. Yeah,
and it's kind of in that in-between stage for a lot of these guys. Like, the Saints are trying to usher in a lot of these new, younger players, but you still have guys like Demario Davis and Cam Jordan who are one foot out the door, let's just say that, as far as their careers go. You know, they're older guys probably thinking about retirement. So it's a little bit of that in-between phase as far as their rebuild goes, where a lot of things just have to still come together. But, hey, the Saints, they're fun to watch, and they do have some good players. But kind of moving on now, there's a lot of surprises in Week 5. There was it was a really weird week. It just kind of like how this whole season has gone. I've seen a lot of Twitter memes of like comparing this season to the 2017 season, where it was Blake Bortles, Case Keenum, Nick Foles, and Tom Brady as the Final Four quarterbacks standing. And we might get one of those years, but I think the biggest surprise for me was that Cardinals collapse. It was almost unbelievable what I was watching. If you haven't seen the Cardinals-Titans game from last week, I strongly urge you to go on YouTube and watch the highlights, because it was absolutely unbelievable the series of events that happened to the Arizona Cardinals, most of them self-inflicted, that led to them blowing this game. They're up 21-3, and I'm especially ashamed of this one. The biggest thing was Amari DiMercato, a third-string running back, finally getting a chance to play because of injuries to James Conner and Trey Benson, breaks off a huge, 70-yard run. It's a walk-in touchdown. Yeah. Around the 10-yard line, he thinks that there is nobody even around him. So he lets up, starts jogging, and then to double it, he lets the ball go as he pulled a Deshaun Jackson. Let the ball go before he went into the end zone, and it's a touchback. Titans get the ball. They go down and score. And then another, just the second unbelievable thing happens next time the Titans get the ball. They're driving down the field. Cam Ward throws an interception. So you're like, okay, boom, Cardinals got the interception. Nope. Fumbles it, and the Cardinals kick it into the end zone where the Titans fall on it for a touchdown. That is two huge, just numbskull plays that lost them the game, and that is the most Arizona Cardinals thing of all time, and it's especially depressing for me with Amari DiMercato being a TCU Horned Frog, so it's a little bit embarrassing there. But Jacob, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this game, but it was just ridiculous.
I agree, and you're talking about watching the highlights. I heard something on, I think it was Twitter, that I agree with, that whole pinball of a touchdown fumble.
It was
so
literally
much
like
better.
Butterfingers.
It's so much better if you listen to the Looney Tunes music over it. It's like it could not have been scripted to be any more slapstick.
Yeah, it was. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was watching, because I was actually watching that live. I had like the 4 screen up on my YouTube TV.
Oh yeah.
And I'm watching the Bengals game because I have a fantasy player in one of my leagues. And then I look down at the bottom left corner, and it literally is like Looney Tunes happening on the screen. And I'm like, there's no way Arizona's blowing this. But if you are a 49ers fan, if you are a Rams fan, if you are a Seahawks fan, if you are an avid NFC West watcher, you know that this is nothing out of the ordinary for the Cardinals. They always find ways to lose games, even when you think they're up. And it's just, I don't know. Now they're 2-3. And this is typical Cardinals. They go up 2-0. Now they're 2-3. Their head coach actually got fined $100,000 from the team for hitting Amari DiMercato after giving him the business on the sideline after that horrific fumble touchback. So, that's obviously the biggest surprise of Week 5 was just the way the Cardinals lost that game. For me personally, Jacob, do you have there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I have Kyler Murray as my fantasy QB, or I did. I managed to trade for Caleb Williams, so I'll swap him out this week.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess, because last time they ended up losing it to the Seahawks badly, so I guess I should have seen some writing on the wall. But I was not expecting, of the Titans of all people, of all teams, for it to go that badly, and like you said, so self-inflicted. I mean, dropping it on the 1 yard line like that's just something you can't do.
Yeah.
And I feel like we see that way too often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. But I kind of want to stay in the NFC West. The 49ers, they did it. If you were watching last week, I was very pessimistic, and we can play the clip right now. If you haven't picked the Rams at all, I think that's another lock. The 49ers, I think, have zero chance of beating the Rams on Thursday Night Football. And, hey, if they do win, they would very much surprise me because they look terrible against the Jaguars. So if you haven't used the Rams, I know it's a divisional game, but the Rams are going to stomp the 49ers. You're hearing that from me right now. Yeah, as you can tell, I was not very excited for that game at all to watch it. But somehow, Mac Jones, return of the Mac, he did it. He did it. He beat the Rams. And the Rams really handed the 49ers that game. Kyron Williams, thank you. You are part of the reason the 49ers won that game. Fumbling on the 1 yard line and then getting stuffed on 4th and 1 in overtime. Sean McVay, thank you for calling a run right up the middle. As a 49ers fan, that was a great win. But I'm not going to victory lap for too much. 49ers have a game this weekend against the Buccaneers. Two teams that are really beat up. So I think that one could go any way. But kind of moving on from my 49ers now, we can just go ahead and go right into lock of the week. Since, like I said, that one's a toss-up. You don't really want to choose the Bucs-Niners if you're in a survivor. But I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go to the Thursday night game, and I try to stay away from divisional matchups, but I really do like the Eagles this week against the Giants. The Eagles are coming off of a pretty rough loss where they blew a pretty big lead to the Broncos on Sunday. So they're going to be looking to bounce back. They're going to be locked in. And the Giants, oh man, poor Michael, that he has to watch this team. And this is no disrespect to the Saints, but that was, if you're losing to the Saints, I don't really trust you against the Eagles. So that's going to be my lock of the week, Jacob.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one. And I feel like, not to talk down on the Eagles, because obviously they're an incredible football team, but I feel like they also haven't been quite living up to the potential that they have with the amount of talent on that team this season. No. But yeah, I'm with you. I would definitely think that they have a lot more to give than they've been showing so far. So I would definitely pick them. I would also throw in the Bills against the Falcons.
Yeah.
Because, Saints fan, I got to root against the Falcons.
Yeah, there you go.
But also, obviously the Bills are just a really, really good football team. Mm-hmm. Even though they've been showing some shakiness over the last couple of weeks, but I still think just the level of talent on the team and the way that they've been able to come together and just kind of lock in, I feel like that's what I would go for. I would say that's my pick for this week.
Yeah, and again, the Bills, a team that lost last week, that's looking to get back on track. I feel like that's always a good sign for if a team gets humbled the week before, especially in a game that you're expected to win against the Patriots. I know, a division rival. And then there again, another thing from last week's show, we literally had an entire segment talking about if the Bills would even lose a game this season. There's always that one team that breaks away and is like trying to be like the 1972 Miami Dolphins, the only team to ever go undefeated. And the Bills ruin it the literally days after we talk about it if they're going to lose.
Got to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, and so last week's episode feels like such a wash after seeing everything that happened on Sunday. But let's go ahead and get into our KCEN Fantasy League. Jacob, you have been very active with trades and stuff like that. And it's good to see that the Fantasy League is thriving. Yeah. But, we're 5 weeks in now. Who do you think – who's your pick to win the KCEN League after 5 weeks?
I've been debating on this, and I feel like we've got a lot of really, really good teams.
Yeah.
Like Brandon, I think, is the only person who's undefeated after this past
Shout out
week.
Brandon because, okay, but I will say I think Brandon's fraudulent. Least points scored against him, and if you look at his points scored compared to everyone else's, it's pretty low. So I think Brandon might be a little fraudulent, but still, again, you got to give him his props. He's undefeated.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it just comes down to winning games. I don't know if he's got enough to take the crown at the end, but I got to give him credit for being undefeated right now. Outside of that, I mean, Sarah's been doing phenomenally well.
Yeah,
I'm going up against her this week, and I'm worried about that one. Mm-hmm. She's got a lot of great players. Brendan and Matt Gebhardt have also both been playing really well. They're the only two teams I've lost to so far. They were ranked number 1 and number 2 in the league when I lost to them, so that made me feel a little better. Yeah, it's tough to pick just one person. I'm
going to pick myself because, why wouldn't I believe in my guys? But, Jacob, I do like your team. You're kind of on that playoff bubble. I think we have it to where 8 teams make the playoffs, 8 or 6. I'm not sure which one it's set at right now, but I think that we're going to shoot for 8 because then that's half the teams make it. I feel like that's fair. But I play Bailey this week, and she actually has a pretty good team. My team is really beat up, honestly. I have Bucky Irving that's out, which is a huge blow. I have Brandon Ayuk still on IR. I picked up Hassan Haskins. This is one of the things that I got right from a couple weeks ago. When I was doing the show with Kevin, I said, pick up Hassan Haskins because now he's the RB2 for the Chargers. So especially in deeper leagues, you can get some value there if something happens to Hampton. And boom, Omarion Hampton's on IR. So I'll take that Hassan Haskins pickup. He's going to actually start this week for me because of Bucky Irving. And finally, this is the last week without Rashee Rice. He's finally coming off suspension. So I can get him in the lineup with Emeka Ibuka, who has just been awesome for me. But Jacob, do you know who you played this week?
I'm playing Sarah.
Oh, you're playing Sarah this week. Okay, sorry. I thought you said that was next week, but
no, I'm going against her this week. Yeah, I'm worried about this one. Like I said, like you were talking about, I've got 2 of my top draft picks hurt right now. I got George Kittle on IR, and I got CeeDee Lamb out.
Nice.
So
CeeDee should be coming back, I think, this week or next.
That's what I saw.
So he's on his way back for sure.
And George Kittle, they said because this will be his last week of required injured reserve. But they said they're probably going to leave him out another week just to be safe. So hopefully I'll have them both back in the near future, and that'll help me a lot.
Yeah, that'll be a big. I'm definitely in the trade market for a tight end right now. Juwan Johnson isn't cutting it for me.
Yeah, and I'm going to hit up Michael at the beginning too. I feel like he was doing well really good,
but he's kind of cooled off a bit.
Yeah.
These last 2 weeks, so I'm going to hit up Michael for Mr. McBride and see if I can pull off a deal there, because that's really the only spot on my team that I'm really like. I feel like I'm lacking right now.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling very confident as we head down the stretch of the season. But again, the injuries have been mounting up. Yeah. You even said the ones you're dealing with. A lot of guys are just out for the season that were high draft picks, which is just tough to see. But that's part of the luck of fantasy. But we'll have to see what happens as we get into it. I'm going to beat Bailey. I'm going to stand on business and say me, you, and her are the only 3-2 teams. So if I get this win against Bailey, that's going to be huge standings-wise.
Yeah.
One of us is going to be 3-3. The other is going to be 4-2. So I'm very excited for that one. But, Jacob, if you don't have anything else, I think that's going to do it for our time here.
All right. Thank you for having me on. I will say Taysom Hill was back in the game this week.
Yes, got to represent
the jersey.
Got to represent
Taysom Hill. I
snagged
him from the waiver wire as soon as I saw that he was back in practice.
Yeah, and he's such an interesting fantasy player, too, because you never know when he's just going to come in and throw like a deep bomb to someone, or he's going to break off some run for a touchdown. He has random weeks where he just goes nuclear.
Yeah, I have no idea if that'll pay off or not, but I knew I'd be upset if somebody else got him first,
especially
so
in
I had
a league,
to jump on it while I could.
Yeah, in a league like ours where it's 16 teams, it's very much you can pick up these guys and have them start for you at any point. So I don't hate the pickup at all. I was thinking about it myself, but it's very fitting, and I'm glad that you ended up with them for sure. But that's going to do it for us on KCEN Kickoff today. We do have our Friday Night Lights coverage on Friday, obviously. Our game of the week is Groesbeck and Mejia. That's going to be the river rivalry. Sydney's going to be out there. Adrian's going to be out there. We're all going to be doing a bunch of games from around Central Texas. Saturday, Baylor is on the bye week, like I said earlier in the show, before they play TCU next week. And A&M's got a showdown against Florida. Number 5 A&M is going to look to keep it rolling. And then, of course, Sunday Night Football right here on KCEN. Lions and Chiefs. That's going to be a great one for Sunday Night Football. But, I think that's going to do it for us on KCEN Kickoff. I'll be back here next week with some different guests for sure. And I think that's going to do it. Jacob, thank you so much for joining me. Hey, whenever the Saints keep winning, I'm down to have you on. I need to get my goal is to have Matt Gebhardt on here, I think, because we need to talk about the Raiders and how bad they are in depth with a Raiders fan. But that's going to do it for us this week. We'll see you on the next one.